Hey, Jeff. It's really awesome having you on the
Uh,
show. Would you take a second and tell my followers what you do?
Yeah, so I am Jeff Parker. I probably do lots of things, too many things, but I have a podcast and it's called Content Creators Library. And it's kind of going through some growing pains, to be truthful. But I started out with I interviewed content creators, like Adam has been on it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of shifted lately, but that's fine. But yeah, I basically just started interviewing content creators. Like I just started probably not without a plan and just went into it because I'm more of like a doer. And then I figure things out along the way, which sometimes works, sometimes they don't. But yeah,
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. It's like that's how you learn is by doing things.
yep,
So,
yep, 100%.
so if you could start it all over again, what would you have done differently?
So I mean, I think the biggest thing is like I'd have a plan of what I'm doing. I mean, I thought I had a plan, but I didn't have it that planned out. Like I didn't knowing what I know now, I would have had like who's my target audience and like make customer avatars and like find out their pain points and like make specific content, not necessarily just interviews. Because I've noticed like even I made shorter episodes recently. They get like almost the same amount of downloads as the ones that take 10 times longer, the interview. So I think knowing who the podcast was for firsthand was probably like the biggest thing, which I kind of had an idea, but the doer mindset was just like, let's start this and let's go. But that has not worked really. Or has not worked as well as I planned.
Well,
So
I can tell you I like the shorter episodes. I listen to those. I mean, I listen to the long ones too. I usually just get on the podcast app every
yeah,
little while and binge watch a couple of them. But the short ones, it's like, oh, I got 5 minutes. I can do that. But the
yeah,
long ones, it's like, okay, I'm going to listen to this on my drive to work and I'm not going to
it's,
finish it. And I'm going to finish it tomorrow or the next day. It's going to take a while to get through it. But yeah, the
yeah.
short ones are kind of digestible. So I like that.
Yeah, I think the long ones are. I mean, that's how I listen to podcasts. Like if I'm going to work, you're not going to obviously finish it. You're just like gaining the information. But then the short ones, they're like 5 to 7 minutes long. And always put like a call to action at the end of like this is what you should do, but what I think you should do. And I think they're just easier to produce. Like I can record like three of them in 20 minutes or something than the longer format ones, than the interview ones. So,
Yeah,
but
that way you can stay consistent.
so I didn't like the one that's coming out tomorrow is about starting an online course, how I failed at it, and like what you should do, what you should not do with the call to action at the end. And like that was recorded like 3 weeks ago because I didn't have anything planned for tomorrow. So I'm like, well, this one's ready. It's edited, so I just have to upload it. And that takes 8 minutes or something. Like it takes nothing.
Yeah, I actually listened to that one about failing to, do the market research before creating the
Yeah.
course. Honestly, it's really powerful. I was like, because I have a couple ideas for stuff as well, and I'm like, oh, I probably should ask before making this.
I've seen
And
that in your Facebook group. Like you'll ask, like that literally just do that. That was like the call to action thing. Just ask one person, DM somebody. Hey, what's up? What do you think about this? If it's trash, no problem. Like if you don't lose anything. But when you spend all this time making something and you're invested in it, you're like, oh, this sucks. There's no other way to explain it.
yeah, I felt really bad for you after listening to that, but I will say I had this thought, and so this is kind of like constructive feedback you're getting right now. I was listening to it, and it's like technically what you actually said in the interview was, very little. It was like I made this course, nobody wanted it. It was really a tough experience. That's like, one sentence, boom, whole
Yeah.
podcast episode. But then I was like, in the way you talked about it, you talked about the importance of it, but you never really told us like the story of the course and like how you made it and how you
I
felt or
know.
something. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, maybe this is. Are you making another episode where you do that?
No, but I can.
But anyway, I would have
I
loved to have heard that. So
the quick hash of it was because I'm almost like embarrassed to say it. So I made a course for YouTubers, and it was how to make a website for YouTubers. Because I noticed like most YouTubers don't have a website. It's like then you can monetize your audience using a website. Like it's so vague now. I know it's so vague. Like I mean, I'm sure people could use that, but no one like wanted it.
that's interesting because like I don't have a website, but I have a YouTube channel, and I've
Yeah.
thought about getting one, but I always thought I'll just get one when I'm a little farther along and have
See,
my own products.
that's what.
But actually, you could really use anything as a funnel for your YouTube channel. If your website got enough visits, then
Yeah.
it could just funnel people there. I mean, I do the same thing with my Facebook group. It's just a place on the internet.
Yeah, I think I should have explained it. I mean, I record. This is like the first. I should like upload an episode, so someone can see it or something. But it's like I'm all like nervous and like I'm all just like, oh my gosh, because I didn't know. I just built it in the dark that like nobody knew about nobody, not one person. And it was like this course is released. Who wants this?
Yeah.
Well, that's not how you do it. Like what I've learned now, that's not how you do it at all. Like you get the feedback beforehand, or even like launch it with 5 people with you who already paid you whatever, maybe $20 to start with, and you launch it like one lesson at a time. Because then you get the feedback immediately,
Yeah,
not the 2 months of making something and then nothing happens.
that's
That's why I
really
said the
hard.
plan.
Any other mistakes that you made, since you've started your podcast that
Yeah. I,
somebody that, wants to start a podcast would benefit from,
Yeah,
knowing
so
about?
so I definitely wrote like I wrote this down. I have like literally have notes because I didn't want to forget. So like the first thing was like knowing my target audience. Like like I thought it's YouTubers, but what do they want? Because I can't help you grow your YouTube channel. Right? That's not I don't more than I do. 500 plus subscribers more than I do, right? Like I don't. So it's like that's why I started with interviews because then you can get this. I can ask them questions, and then people can listen to podcasts. People listen to me more. They could maybe buy a product I have or something. That's like the whole idea at first, and then it didn't even make sense. I just should have knew my target audience and what they wanted. Oh yeah, so and then at first, I mean, I think I'm better now, but when I would edit these podcasts and I would spin because it's a podcast. Like I'm not watching you talk, so it's okay if it's chilling over here. You're doing something else. So if you're talking back and forth and stuff, it's okay. But my first podcast episode, it was like 50 minutes long. I deleted it till it was like 12 minutes long. Like I cut out. There's no stops. There's no stutters. Like it was too formal. Like it was insane. Like I cut out all this little seconds of me stopping, and it was too much because it's like a podcast. It's not YouTube where I'm watching you and I have to be entertained. Like people listen to podcasts, they're not sitting. I mean, the type of podcast I would have, they're not sitting down, contemplating, listen to it. They're doing other things. So it's okay if it's not informal. Like you can leave a couple of edits here and there, which I didn't know the first time. And then I try to get better at it, but I used to always repeat myself over and over. Like I would have a 10-minute solo episode podcast, and like 7 minutes of it, I'd be repeating myself or something over and over again. I'm like, what am I doing? Then I'd re-listen to it like driving like on to work, and I'm like, I wouldn't even listen to this. Like, what? So I try to. I like when I write it down, like I almost write like a script. I try not to read it, but I have like almost a script because I'll just keep going on and on. I can tell, at least for me, the podcast episodes that I planned and I didn't plan, like I can easily tell which ones are planned and not planned because they're just all over the place when it's not planned. I have to edit so much stuff down. And I'm like, well, it has to come out tomorrow, so I just press upload.
I'm so sick of feeling that way on YouTube. Like the demand, you need to create more content. I get those comments all the time. It's like you need to make more videos, and it's like, well, they're gonna be crap if I just upload them like when they're not ready or when I'm
Yeah,
not ready. There's just so much demand to create, and then nobody consumes it when you release it, and it's just very frustrating.
I think it's hard to. I mean, it's. I mean, I was obviously talking to all these YouTubers. Like what I found out was like they weren't looking for a website. They're looking to grow their YouTube channel. Like that's all they're looking at. Like that's all. I mean, they're thinking of other things, but like 90% of their problems is like how to grow their YouTube channel. They're not trying to monetize it. I mean, if they're big enough, maybe they're thinking of that. But there's literally how to grow their YouTube channel. Like in essence, those are their pain points. What I think after talking to all these YouTubers.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that if like I took your course, I would be able to create a website that would funnel enough people over to my YouTube channel that I could get the monetization requirements faster? Because most people don't think about doing it that way, but if you could, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I think in my mind it was the opposite. It was the other way. You have a YouTube channel, you get people like you had whatever 1,000 subscribers, you get people and to your website, and you're selling something. Like it was almost like the opposite way. Is how
Uh,
I was thinking.
I wonder if you could
See,
rebrand
that's
it,
why you
because
could.
like I think most people when they're on YouTube, they just want to get their like 1,000 subscribers or something,
Yeah,
and they're just like, come on, because like I've been doing this for almost 2 years, I still don't have 1,000. It takes a while to get real organic subscribers, the right way.
yeah,
Just focus on that and use your content to make that happen. I don't
it
know.
could. I still
And
have it's. I have like it's. You could go to the website right now. Literally, it's like my website. Be courses dot jeffparkercreations.com. Like it's technically there. It's just no one goes to it because I don't talk about it, right? Because this is like I failed at it, and that's probably why I don't. It just seemed like I had no idea what I was talking about. It's how you like your first YouTube video. You're like, yep, that happened. We're just gonna act like it. You don't think about it because it wasn't the best idea, but you just didn't know. It's just a
yeah,
growing pain. I'm not crying at night or nothing. Like it's just a growing pain. You deal with it. You learn from that. Now I do like market research. Like my beta offering, I'm literally running it through this one person to make sure I know when I officially launch this and I want to charge whatever amount for it, I know it works for this person and who it works for the customer avatar and like my ideal customer and everything like that. I know it's going to work versus let's just see what happens. Like, I don't want to do that again. So,
Man, what you're talking about, like my first videos, they're terrible, and right now I'm trying to bury them with newer, better
right.
videos. It's like a way of hiding them. I mean, they're still there, but it's like, well, if I make more videos, hopefully they'll never get down there.
That's how I think everybody feels when they for anything starting workout routine or something. You're like you look back 2 years later and you're like, oh my gosh, like what? Maybe recorded yourself and you're just like, I don't know what I was doing. But at the time, that's all you knew. And
Yeah.
that's fine. That's all you know. You don't know any more than what you know at the time, unless you can pay somebody. Like if you paid someone whatever $1,000 to teach you YouTube, then yeah, but, not most people aren't gonna start with that at the beginning. Like just to be real,
Well, let me ask you this. So, can you kind of describe the process that you go through from start to finish to create a podcast? Maybe back when you were doing the interviews?
Yeah. So if let's just say, I don't know how we officially met. Let's say I wanted you to be on the podcast, because you're you're a YouTuber, you're a expert. I don't know what words you call yourself, but you're also talking about YouTube, how to grow a YouTube channel and stuff like that. So I was like, this would be a good person to be on the podcast. And I didn't know you had a Facebook group first. This is before I even knew you had it. So I'd see you comment somewhere and I'd comment on your post, hey, what's up? Or some helpful comment, but I'd always like ask the question at the end because I feel like if you don't ask the question, they're not going to comment back. I mean, you might, because you're a nice person. There's other people they'll just give you a little like. You want to get that interaction back. So always like ask a question on someone's post where they're commenting. And as they comment back and forth, you literally just like, hey, can I DM you really quick or something like that? Or just pitch it right there, like, hey, I have a podcast about this. I love you could be on it. And like most people, some won't, but like literally, if I asked 10 people, like 7 of 10 would say yes. Like it really wasn't even hard to get people to be on it. Because I mean, I don't know, for one, how many people who's been on the podcast? I don't know, it just sounds cool, right? Because then you can
Yeah.
express your feelings of of whatever the question is asking. How did you grow this? You learn from yourself as you explain this, as you storytell and everything like that. And then so we scheduled the episode. We talk about what we talk about, right? Then it ends, and then I go to it's called Descript. It's an app. It's not an app. It's like a Windows application, whatever you call these things. And what it does is instead of going through, I don't know, like when you edit YouTube videos, you see the video and then you see waves of you talking, right? Sound waves, whatever. What this does, it translates it or it translates it so you can see the actual words. So it shows the video. Obviously, I don't have videos, so it just translate all the words on it. So when I need to edit something out, instead of me, I can listen to it, but I can just delete out those words. So I think it's so much quicker instead of looking at the sound waves and like listening to it over and over again, like which version sounds good. I can just delete all that. So I think that's not free. I have to pay. That's like $15 a month. That's totally worth it. You should like even for YouTube videos. Like I'll make reels of it on Instagram. It's just so much easier. Just seeing the words on the screen, and then at that point you have to write a description for it, upload it to Pinecast. I upload it to my website. But it's all like literally from the time it's edited to upload. Like I'll wake up tomorrow and upload in like 10 minutes. It don't take 10 minutes, but it takes the time I upload it to my podcast provider and to YouTube or to my website. I mean, it's literally like 10 minutes. So it's really not even, I don't think it's that hard. But I mean, obviously, I'm like 15 episodes in. But that's the
That,
easy part, editing
that
it and all the stuff. Yeah.
doesn't seem too bad. But what I want to know is how you so successfully get people to, be willing to be on the podcast. Because I'm trying to remember what you did to get me on your podcast, but I just
So I was thinking,
instantly liked you. I was like, sure. Like, sure, I'll be on your podcast. That was literally the second podcast I'd been on. And I didn't understand the platform at the time. I didn't listen to the podcast. And somehow I was like, yeah, I'm going to be on this guy's podcast. I have tons of things to do, full-time job, family, and I was going to be on Jeff Parker's podcast. How do you do it?
I think it's just being like authentic. Like, I mean, how do I do? I just ask people. I mean, I just ask people in the comments. Like, people will post something about. I remember someone else who had like 1 million followers on TikTok. I'm like, this is like, I need to get this person on my podcast, right? So she just said, she posted, well, she has a YouTube channel too. And she posted, oh, I got blah, blah, whatever, right? I have 140,000 subscribers. I made my first check. I don't know, whatever she wrote on one of the groups. And I said, hey, this is really cool. And just be like authentic, like don't like fake it or anything, but be authentic, this is really cool. And again, I always ask the question at the end because you want them to, if they don't respond back, because if you just DM somebody, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? No one. If you DM me without knowing you, I'm just not going to respond back. it's someone trying to sell you usually. It's just the fact. Like you've seen people, girl, your YouTube channel, blah, like no, you're being blocked. So you just don't want to come in like cold like that. So when you ask the question, they get notifications, it pops up on Facebook over and over again. As you like their stuff hard at whatever. They ask the question, they come back and they just keep going a little forth, and I just ask them if they want to be on the podcast. I mean, I kind of explain it. Hey, this would be good. Be good telling your journey on the podcast. This is what it's about. Would you like to do this, or can I DM you, take this privately to continue the conversation? I mean, that's it. I don't know how else to.
Well,
It seems like I don't know.
it
I
probably
enjoy like
seems obvious, but you're definitely good at it. And I guess another thing I wanted to know for you is kind of what is the long-term plan for the podcast? Have you figured out now that you've had some experience, what are you going to do to make it more successful in the future?
so. I think I need to just rehash everything, like maybe the name or the website, just rehash it, like who it's for, and just figure all this out. I think is the big thing. Because I'm posting, like if you listen to the first episode where I'm interviewing content creators, and now I'm talking about like a course and launching a beta group, like it's I feel like it's completely different, like the ideal audience. So I need to find out the direction I'm going. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I don't know, I just don't know which direction I'm going. So I'm just posting them every Friday. I think it's good to keep posting that and learning. I just don't want to stop. I don't want to be someone who starts a podcast and they stop and it becomes like a statistic. Because like we all see podcasts. I mean, if I know you maybe do this, but like you'll see a podcast and it's 22 episodes long, and they just stop. I just don't want to be that person. I just don't want to, I just want to keep going. And like, I'll figure this out. I know I will. I don't want to be a statistic of someone who started. I mean, people start things, they don't work out, but like, this is going to work out. I want to figure this out.
If I could, give you some thoughts though about this,
Yeah.
because here's the thing. So like we talked about how there's like no podcast algorithm, so nothing's pushing your
Yeah.
content
There's
out.
nothing.
But when you have a positive experience with something, like I have when I listen to the episodes, I think you've kind of just hooked me for life. Like I'm just going to check the app every once
It's,
in a while and watch the ones that relate to me. There's a lot of people that get on YouTube and then want to stay and keep doing it for years on and off. I think if you can keep making at least some episodes where you're interviewing creators like you did with these earlier episodes, you're going to give people a reason to come back and check it. But then also the short version podcasts, I think kind of present an opportunity to get to know you. And so I kind of like the mixture. So like maybe you can use the short form to kind of stay consistent and feel like you're progressing, but then put the big interview ones every so often. And I think as long as you keep creating that type of content, then you're going to keep me coming back every so often for,
yeah.
just to binge watch.
That's good. That
And
that's like I mean that's what that's people's what that was kind of like the reason I started it was like the type of person who's going to listen to this. I mean, assuming they subscribe and they keep listening to it, like you're going to build a connection with them. Us we know each other, but not you may not as somebody else, but you want to build that connection. Just because I mean, imagine doing dishes, listen to this person episode every couple of weeks or something over and over and over. And then when they have something to sell or whatever, you already like you build the trust already, right? It's just like a YouTube channel. Like if I watch every episode of yours and then eventually you try to sell me something, it'll be a big deal because I already trust. So that was like one of the reasons why I did it, is I can build the trust without making a YouTube channel. Like I can just sit here, do an interview. That was like one of the reasons why.
yeah, and I guess it kind of frees you up a little bit. It's probably less stressful to record yourself speaking versus also being in video form. You could actually, because like the trust is already developing. So it's like if you did say in the future on the podcast, hey, I made this thing, I might be like, well, I know Jeff Parker. I've been listening to him for a couple of years. I'm buying this.
Yeah.
So actually it could also be a stream of money. So yeah,
Mhm.
probably all you'd have to do with my thought has always been you'll have to obviously consistently create content, but the other part of it is like you'll need some sort of system to notify people that you're releasing episodes, like maybe a newsletter or a Facebook group or something, just some way, because like I don't, nothing tells me to check the podcast app. I
Yeah.
just do it every once in a while. And so if you could find some way to like be like, hey, I just interviewed a creator with 100,000 subscribers, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go listen to that.
Yeah, I don't have nothing set up like that. There's nothing that, yeah. I mean, I have an Instagram page or something. I have an Instagram page, but that's, not it's all fragmented. So, everybody's in different areas. But yeah, there's no system set up like that. We're like an email list or anything. We're like, at least you're getting this every Friday. You know what's going to be on
Yeah,
it.
because I've seen you on Twitter. You do have an Instagram. I've seen that. Those work too. I mean, that's one way of notifying people. But I mean, if you're willing to I've never heard of a free way to have an email list, but if you're willing to pay for it, it might eventually really pay off, you know? Because like I would join, especially if you didn't send out emails all the time. Like if it was like once a month, okay, this is the podcast you definitely want to listen to. I'd be like, okay.
I mean, that's where I like, email lists and this, and think of all these things. I just need to, like, I'm doing the beta launch now, so like that's like I haven't posted on Instagram in like a week, so that's my focus right now. But I think once I figure that out, making money where I can have the time to do these things, I think that's where, like, that's like, because I used to always like, I want to start email list, a YouTube channel, Twitter, like all these big picture things, and you realize like this takes so much time. So you like, what are you going to do right now? That's why like every Friday an episode comes out. Sometimes I tell people, sometimes I don't. Sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes,
But
it's
yeah,
not all perfect. Yeah, I mean, like how, I mean, how it's like, it's not all you see is the episode uploaded every 2 weeks, a month, or whatever, like on your YouTube channel. They don't see kids and this and that. You know what I mean? You don't see that, obviously. It's not easy.
it's kind of hard. You have to find a balance between like promoting your stuff, but then also not overdoing it. Well, the last question I wanted to ask you was, what inspired you to start your podcast?
I think there's two things. I mean, one, it was definitely a branding thing. Like someone who has a podcast and like it just, they're an expert or something. I mean, not that they're an expert, but like they have a podcast. I don't have a YouTube channel, but at the time I was like, I don't have a YouTube channel and all these things. And then you just build that relationship through someone. I just think someone who can listen to you. I mean, I've done this where I will listen to somebody for, it could be months on end, starting an email list or something, like something like positive where I want to learn about it. And I keep listening to it, like come to my free webinar or something. And then you go to it because you already trust, like you already built that trust. And I think that's, if not that everything's about selling anything, but when you do try to sell something, because the money makes the world go around, it's just a lot easier because you just built that trust already. And I think the second reason was just to build like a community and like to help, because I didn't like how I would help content creators is interview other content creators, and those people can listen to it, like the TikTok video. Not everybody knows about TikTok, how to grow to a million. Like, literally, I think the episode was like how to grow to 1 million followers, because she had 1 million followers. She just gave us some tips on the way. Whether you listen to them or not, that was what the episode is called. Like our episode was like Facebook groups or a secret hack or something. Because I thought that was a cool title.
Yeah, it
It didn't
was.
get insane amount of views, but I just thought like finding that out. Like I'm sure you have more subscribers now versus if you didn't have the channel. I think. I mean, I don't know. I just think
Oh, yeah.
having that extra thing, like an email list, whatever it is, or website, you have that extra thing to funnel people to. Either each way, however you want to funnel.
I'd say it probably gets me between like 25 and 50 subscribers a month. They just don't always necessarily stay. People are pretty fickle on YouTube. So you have
Yeah.
unsubscribes and stuff. They're like not sure if they, want to stay, but that's okay. It just slowly builds over time.
And then you get people who are actually going to listen to you, and versus, I can have 100 downloads an episode, but if only 10 come back the next week, I mean, that's cool. But, it's like, it's only, those 10 are going to mean more because they're actually listening to it versus just a one-off. I'm not doing that.
Well, all right. We probably should wrap this up because,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
getting long and